My name is Michael, and this is my video out. But my performer name is Barbie. Although, when I picked that name, I didn't know that there was going to be one in every city. I guess I'll start when I was really, really little. It was kind of the root of all of this. But one of my earliest memories as a child is I would walk on my tippy toes because I wanted to be a princess. I guess I was trying to mimic high heels and my mother didn't own any. She had penny loafers. But I would walk around on my tippy toes and I would do things like I would put a t-shirt on and put a belt in the middle so it would look like a dress and paint my nails with my Crayola markers and stuff. And one day, my dad, because we always play music and dance in the living room, my father said, "Let's dance." And I went in my room to start getting ready, like to put my little get ready. He found me and he spanked the fuck out of me. He spanked me so, like where you run to your room in a fury, like hysterical. So I'll never do that again. So that was the end of all of this for my whole childhood. It was in high school, I want to say my sophomore year. Because I mean, in elementary and middle school in gym class, you know, you would see the other guys and you'd feel different, or you'd try to like peek or whatever. And I just thought, I wasn't sure. My mother would always tell me that when you fell in love that you would have a friend and that you'd be their best friend and all of a sudden you'd fall in love. So I just thought that I hadn't found the right girl. And I would date my friends that were girls thinking that, oh, you know, one day it'll just snap and you'd be in love. And it just didn't happen, and I was continuing to feel more attracted towards men and everything, and it was my sophomore year that something just said, "Alright man, you're gay," but you can't tell anyone. I mean, I was in the lower valley, there was like, well actually, cholos for a big part, usually they're very understanding. But it was high school, and at that period in time, being gay was still taboo. It wasn't on I mean, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy wasn't even out at that time. Like, it was just taboo. There was like 2 people in my school that were gay, and people treated them like hell. So I wasn't about to include myself in that. The senior year, all of us lost our virginity, and then they were poking at me, my friends, that I hadn't lost mine yet. So I was like determined, and I went to I found out where the gay bar was in El Paso, and I snuck out of my house in the middle of the night and went, and I couldn't go in, but I hung out, and I was all talking to people, because back then everyone would go outside and smoke, and it would be like a whole separate bar outside. Well, I ended up meeting someone, and that was my first. And so then I was all happy. And I went to school, and I told all my friends I lost it. But I told them it was a girl. I graduated, still not out. And it wasn't until that first summer, it was that first summer that I was free of high school. And we were partying in Juarez, started going to college, and I kind of that was when I kind of expressed, I was like, I don't have to go to school every day, I can dress like I want, and I started wearing the hip hugger bell bottoms, and like all of that, because I would wear jewelry, stuff like that, and it was that first summer that I did tell my friends, and it was weird. I mean, they all said that they all knew, but it's kind of like, if you knew, then why didn't you kind of like let me know that it was okay all that time? But my parents still didn't know, but we would party every weekend, and I mean, I guess parents always think the worst when you're out at night, And they didn't really realize, because I'd hang out with my straight girlfriend, and we'd go to like some bar in Mexico. Well, when you party in Mexico, the club closes at 2. You have to cross the bridge. We would always go eat at a taco place after. So I'd get home by probably like 4 in the morning all the time. I guess my father thought that I was out having all this sex or something. And at that point I didn't dress up, none of that. But one day I got home at 5 in the morning one day, and my dad, he came and he woke me up and he sat on the side of the bed. And he asked me, well, Michael, you know, you came home really late last night. I want to ask you something. You don't seem to bring any girls around. You haven't really shown any interest in the opposite sex whatsoever. I'm getting kind of worried. I want to ask you what your sexual orientation is. Because my father, he was a principal, so he's an educated man. And I told him, fine, Dad, I'm not a virgin, I lost my virginity. And he's all, no, Michael, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking what your sexual orientation is. And I was really quiet. I was still with the cover up to here, and he was sitting there on the side, and then I told him, alright, well fine, I yonder. And I didn't want to say I'm gay, I just kind of let him off that I was bi to give him a shred of hope. And I didn't even say bi, I said I yonder, meaning that I go both ways. And he kind of was quiet and he put his head down a little. And I remember he rubbed his eyes and he got up and he went into the next bedroom, my little brother's room. He wasn't there at that time because he was shared parents or whatever. And I heard him crying in the room for like 5 minutes. And he came back and I was terrified because still at that time you hear all the stories of people getting thrown out of their house and attacked. And I have my first boyfriend, his coming out was a nightmare. I'll tell that in a second. But he came and he put his hand right here and he said, I am your father and you're my son and I'm going to love you and I'm going to be here for you no matter what. You're always going to be my son no matter what. And I mean, there's nothing more anyone could have ever have asked than that. I mean, we don't really talk about it, but he knows. And my stepmother she'll show him photos of me on Facebook and he knows what I'm up to, but we just don't talk about it. He's been a very supportive father. He's always helped me. I mean, even for Gay Pride, he lends me his truck so I can make a float every year. Yeah, and he helped me build a platform to put people on the back, all of that. So that's my dad. My dad was the first one to find out. He found out when I was 18 because he asked me. My mother, it was still, you didn't want your mom thinking about you rolling around with men, you know, it's just such, because it was so taboo, like it's just so, you don't want your mother thinking of you, so I never told her. And I lived with my dad, so one day my mother picked me up, and this is how you always know, my parents at least, that they're going to ask you something or tell you something crazy. They pick you up for no reason, and they take you to lunch, and then you go to the store and they're like, would you like anything? What do you want? Like, buy anything. And I'm like, oh fuck, something's gonna happen. So we went to lunch, we went to Michael's. She bought me this big ass champagne glass, like the ones at the base. And we get in the car and she was like, Michael, I want to ask you a question. She's all, I want to ask you who you date. And I told her, well, I'm single, I'm not dating anyone. She's, oh, I want to ask what kind of person you date. And I was still trying to dodge around it, and she's like, it's like, I want to ask if you like girls or boys. And I was like, oh, alright, mother, I'm gay. And she's like, finally, I just wanted to know, I wanted you to tell me. She's like, I always knew since you were little, but I guess you felt left out. My poor mother, but she's amazing too. Every year she rides in the float with me for Gay Pride, and there's like once when I first started doing drag, I didn't know how to fix my hair, and she fixed my hair for me to do like my very second show or something. So, I'm blessed with my parents. Even my mother, like one time I got my car towed and they had to come pick me up downtown and drag. Her and my stepfather, they had to come pick me up and take me to the damn tow truck place in the morning and drag. And they're all like, this is my son. I'm like, I want my car. And the person's just like, the whole drag thing, that was buried and gone. I had forgotten about it. And my senior year, I was at my best friend's house, and she was showing us the dress that she was going to wear for graduation. And she's like, why don't you put it on? I'm like, no, I want to put a dress on. That's stupid. I'm a guy. I don't want to put a dress. And they dared me. And I was like, fine. And I put the damn thing on, and at that time I was a little thinner, and it just clung like perfect. Because I have my mother's hips, like I don't wear padding, and it pisses off a lot of people. And they're like, what the, my friends were like, what? It looks good on you. And I was all like, what the, I was like, wow. So that got stuck in my head, and then that first summer when I was like all crazy, I told my friend, I'm like, I want to be a woman for Halloween. So that was like a big deal, and I went to Payless, and I got shoes, and you try to like try them on when no one's in the aisle. And then like I went to Gadzooks and found a dress and a stinking wig from Spencer's. All plastic bob, and well, at Gadzooks I was trying to tell the girls that it was a Halloween costume, ha ha ha, and then the girls like, it's okay, we know your secret. So yeah, well, I went out, and that night was amazing. You know, I met all these people. It was fun, and from then on, it kind of like I started dressing up for Halloween, New Year's, Mardi Gras, and it just stuck. It went from there, and it's been 15 years now that I've been dressing up and doing all of that, and thank goodness that I have fun and people get a kick out of it. Well, right now in 2019 and for the past year or so, I think the biggest problem is the promiscuity through the sex apps and the use of methamphetamines for sex. It's crazy. It's crazy. I think more people smoke now than probably not. Of the young people. Anyone that's sexually, I don't know, there's just so many people that do, and then you find out and you're like, really, him too? And the bad thing about that meth is that you get so out of it that I guess they don't know what they're doing, or they don't care, and then they go to the orgies and they end up coming out with something, some kind of disease or something, you know? I think that's the biggest thing that's going on right now, and those apps have pretty much wrecked gay relationships. There really isn't, a lot of people don't want to be in a relationship right now because there's such an availability of partners that to find your special someone, I guess it's boring now. Yeah, because I remember back in the day when you had to write your name on a little card at the bar, they would keep business cards with a little cup of pencils, and you'd give your number out to someone and they would call you and you'd meet up the next weekend, and you'd have to get dressed really nice because you were putting yourself out there to meet someone to go out. And if you found someone, it was like, oh wow, and you would invest time in them. Now, well, you click a few buttons and you meet, well, I don't have them because they're kind of, people are real mean on those apps. I downloaded it once, like, probably like 3 years ago or something, because I was like, I gotta do something to meet someone, because nobody meets out in public anymore. And I tried it, and you know, there's a couple of people hit on me. I got a lot of people that would pester you and wouldn't leave you alone that you didn't like. And then there's people that would downright just insult you and just tell you mean things for no reason. But where I was going with that is, you know, people used to meet in public, and now, you know, they just open up their phone and meet somebody, and, you know, the next time they want to hang out with somebody, they say, oh, well, I already saw that person, let's try somebody new. So there's no real of wanting to invest in one person because there's 100 more. I think that's the biggest problem, because us being gay men, we really have to invest in our family, our gay family, and who we're going to be with, because when you're old and you don't have anybody, I mean, you're going to be alone, and if you never had a partner or invested in anyone, where are you going to go? My favorite part about being me is that I think that I'm true to myself. I try my best. I was born a Gemini, so in my opinion I live the true Gemini, because I am Michael, and I also can be Barbie and be myself and feel comfortable in both ways. And I do try to stay true to myself. I don't follow trends. I wear what I think is cute, or if there is a trend, I'll pick what I like. I try to be true with people around me. You can sneak in a white lie just so you don't hurt someone's feelings, but for the most part, you just try to be sincere with people. And I think my favorite part about me is that I finally learned to be myself and be comfortable, because it takes a long time, especially when I grew up. You know, if you were yourself, it could get you hurt or treated very harshly. And I mean, in middle school they would call me faggot and ugly to my face all the time. And now it's a different world, better and worse, you know, because there are some gay people that are very they just rub it in your face, and then they actually make a bad image for us. You know, there has to be some kind of reserve. Yeah, but you have. Well, I'm happy that I can be myself.